Good having everybody here tonight. I've been excited for tonight for quite some time. I would like to open our time together with a reading from one of our local treasures. I might say prophet, but I don't want to lose everybody already. This is an article that Mas Masamoto published in the Fresno Bee last month, entitled The Art of Making Raisins. Around Fresno, at the end of August and early September, the countryside is filled with the scent of drying raisins. In the evening, slowly drive with your car windows up, and the subtle caramel fragrance of grapes curing in the sun can be felt. Felt, if you understand the tradition of making raisins. Work the entire year, then in the autumn, pick green grapes, lay them out in the sun to dry, and if you don't get rain, they transform into raisins. Sounds wonderfully simple, and it is. And insanely stupid. We expose our harvest to nature and the elements. The process is extremely labor-intensive, and it doesn't always make economic sense. That is why the average age of a farmer in the United States is 55. You can add about a decade or two to us stubborn old raisin farmers. We're old, hanging on to a dying tradition, and will probably pass away full of optimism, hoping nature will cooperate and we'll get our raisin crop in with just enough reward and profit to do it again and again. I suppose we like pain. Raisins are made by the sun. One method. The more traditional way begins in August. Grapevines are watered for the final time, and the earth between the rows is disked and cultivated weed-free. The dirt breaks into a dry, powdered and terrace with a gentle southern slope. Then green grapes are spread onto paper trays, each about 2 feet by 3 feet. 1 acre can produce an average of 1,000 of these trays. Even on our small farm, we've had 50,000 trays a year. The grapes will lay exposed in the sun for 3 weeks, curing into raisins, which are then loaded into wooden bins and sent to the processing plants to be cleaned and packaged. Recently, new changes have been introduced, such as drying grapes on the vine and then harvesting mechanically. This saves labor costs and can be accomplished on a larger scale. My farm is quickly becoming a dinosaur operation with small acreage. We make about 40 acres of raisins, still using tray drying and lots of workers. I will disappear in a decade or two. Yet, I love stories of family farms and raisins. It was a crop full of uncertainty and perfect for struggling immigrants who are willing to take risks and dream of profits. Raisin farm families have stories of watching rain clouds march into the valley and pound green grapes trying to dry. My first year back to the farm after college in 1976 and 78, both years we lost our entire crop. It rained, mold grew on the half grape, half raisins, and my father silently hooked up the disc to our tractor and plowed under the entire crop, gone in a few hours. The pain still lingers. Welcome to farming. I've heard of stories about a farm couple, just a husband and a wife, together carrying and stacking 200-pound sweet boxes of raisins. The wife said, "Oh, I don't know how we lifted those boxes, but we did." I know of farm families and farm worker families laboring together, kids and adults racing to save a crop. With an approaching storm, they rush to roll up trays and protect them from a rainstorm. For a moment, the lines are blurred between owners and workers. All parties recognize what was at stake. We're more of an industry now, fewer stories and more business. Machines don't carry the same emotional attachment to the land. The hope of scratching out a living with the goal of buying a place of your own and sending your kids off to college is lost in the economics of modern-day farming. So, for a few more years, I'll make raisins with change on the horizon. The scent of drying raisins will be gone, and we'll just have stories and memories. A younger generations will shake their heads in amazement at the hard work of immigrant great-grandparents, and then question the return on investment. I'll take a deep breath of the dust and caramel aroma and simply enjoy the moment. Tonight, we have the great opportunity of welcoming two of our good friends to share their stories. Stories are these valuable things that we cherish. But issues and doctrine can kind of be like the technology that Moss talked about. These issues take away from stories. Issues get in between us and them. But stories allow us to enter into people's lives. And so tonight, our goal is to not worry about what the issues are for one night. Some of us have been in positions where we get to stand up and we get to tell other people how they should live their lives. But tonight, I want to be in a position where I get to sit and listen to what life might be. So, will you welcome with me our good friends, Jamie and Josh. Coffee and toast. Where did you grow up, and what did your parents do for a living?
Is this even working? We're good? Okay, can you hear me? I grew up in mostly Fowler, where you were talking about, in the middle of 60 acres of that raisin land, and went to First Press Fowler early on, and then started going to First Press like middle schoolish, and it was cool. And then my dad started out when I was very young as an electrical contractor turned teacher, and my mom has been homemaker and esthetician and organizer.
Josh?
I grew up here in Fresno at University Presbyterian Church. My mom is a teacher and my dad is a district attorney, Fresno, California. Or Clovis, I guess, one of these.
Nitpicky.
Yeah, nitpicky.
Tonight is the night to be nitpicky.
Oh, okay.
You lost your mind.
Sorry.
Usually we are in a room about the size of this stage, and we're not used to using microphones.
It's true.
So we try to be fancy
Talk
for
to Josh.
everybody tonight.
Talk to Josh for a
I'll
while.
answer some questions for you.
Do you have fond memories of your faith community, fond childhood memories?
I do.
Can you tell us kind of about those?
Sure. Some things that stick out on my mind were Vacation Bible School in the summertime, high school youth group. Those were all really fun activities that I enjoyed.
Yes. Initially, no. I hated Sunday school and church and VBS when I was very young. And even camp. Grew up going to camp and did not like Sherwood. So it wasn't until like 6th grade that I was like, oh, this is cool. And I really like this, and started to connect to, staffers and then youth advisors and things. So that was every week and ongoing, and made a huge impression. And I would not know Jesus the way that I do today without that experience.
What were you led to believe God felt about your sexuality as a child?
I'm going to start with you.
You want to go first, or you want me to?
No, it was more of what was not said than what was said, I think, because it was something that wasn't talked about. And so it was something that I assumed people didn't want to hear about or know about or think existed, and that made it a bad thing. And then that in turn translated into God thinks this is a bad thing, and that this part of who you are is not okay. And it's not something that anyone, it's kind of like, well, then that's your issue to deal with, and you just deal with it on your own and in your own way and figure it out. So that was just kind of, so it wasn't even like prayer-wise something that I wanted to talk to God about, because it was like, well, he already knows, and it was more like this would have been easier if I was a boy, but I'm sure you knew that, and so so that was kind of the extent of it, and so just kind of like, okay, then just figure it out and go from there.
And in the same way for me, it was very similar. I think the few things that I can think about, it was mostly the things that weren't said. But things that were said were, off-color jokes at family gatherings, jokes that your friends make, things like that, because you're uncomfortable with something, so we like to make fun of it as people. And so things like that led me to believe that that it wasn't okay.
How did you choose to deal with your attractions? Did you hide them? How did you deal with?
For me, it was just kind of, yes, it's there, I'm aware of it, but this is just going to, kind of making a choice of saying this is going to be a non-issue. So that is not in the cards for me, that's not going to be a thing, and you will just kind of be a bystander on the sidelines and kind of go from there. It was like, well, then you're just never going to be in a relationship, and that's just not going to happen.
And for me, I remember praying quite a lot about the issue of my sexuality, and I remember starting to pray about it right about when I was 12 years old, and I made a decision, when I guess late 16, early 17 years old, to be straight. I remember specifically saying, God, I know, whatever I'm dealing with right here is not of you. I will be straight. And that's what I did.
Did you feel comfortable telling those you loved about your sexuality as a teenager?
I don't think it was ever communicated.
You never told anybody?
I never told anybody.
Yeah, that's a big no. Even with people that I knew would probably be okay with it, I was not ready to share, because once it's this thing that you cannot let anybody know is there, and so you guard it fiercely with everything you have in you, with trying to do that without lying, because you don't want to be inauthentic, you don't want to have to lie, you don't want to be, so it becomes this very evasive thing. And so, I just lost my train of thought.
You didn't feel comfortable telling people?
Right. So it was one of those that, yeah, even if I had been comfortable around somebody, to open up and share that and give that away, it meant I lost control of that. And so it was like, well, then that you just can't. So at that point it was like, it was an ongoing, and that was until, I don't think I said it out loud to somebody until I was 25, and then it was another 5 years before that was like public knowledge.